What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about the 5 levels of visibility in transportation. So visibility is a hot topic in the industry these days. You hear a lot of companies, a lot of our prospects are wondering about tracking and visibility. And really, when we talk about visibility, we want to talk more about the tracking of the movement of freight. That's really, really important. But we also want to talk about visibility to data, and the ability to share information, which is really, really key component of working in transportation and supply chain, is how effectively and quickly and accurately you're able to share information. So we have 5 levels of visibility, and we're just going to walk through them today. So the first level of visibility is really no visibility. That's how we talk and think about it. So typically, a lot of shippers that come on to work with us, when we approach them and we first start working with them, they're really in this no visibility world. And what we see a lot of times is that laptops and computers really are the source of tracking, the source of information, and the way that companies spread files. So what we see a lot of times is email tenders and Excel tracking. So if you can imagine a giant Excel sheet, people are really, really familiar with Excel. What we see a lot of times is that companies will lay out all of their shipments, all of their origin information, all the destination information, all of the carrier information, and the pricing information. And what they'll try to do is through email, through the phone, whatever it is, track that freight and put updates into that Excel document. This is a really good start. It does help you, for example, on an audit where you're able to marry the cost on the front end from that Excel document to the carrier invoice and get an accurate audit. But a big problem here is that it's very, very manual. You don't have any connections. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is the ability to connect with trucks. So mainly the way that we're going to connect with trucks again is on email and on the phone. It's slow, it's not automatic, and it's really, really capital intensive from a human perspective. You have a lot of people that are working with their computers, working with their phones to get the right information about the shipments. And it's really, really error prone, and it's not at all scalable. So that's kind of our first level of visibility. After that, we do see kind of a next level up is we see kind of an introductory TMS. So a lot of times, we'll see prospects that'll be working with maybe a broker TMS, or, let's be really generic. And we'll say the example is freetms.com. And so this is a big step in the right direction. Because what a lot of these people are trying to do, these companies are trying to do, is they're trying to store things like contracts. In some cases, they do have limited capabilities, but they do have some capabilities to interact with the trucks, whether, again, regardless of mode, really, whether it's parcel, truckload, international, we'll just use a truck to represent that. But they'll have some limited capabilities. Some of these TMS versions actually do have API capabilities, which is a good step in the right direction. But typically what we see is a really, really constrained carrier base, in not the most effective way to communicate with the carriers. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's not really, generally it's not your product. It's not customized to you. You don't have a lot of your, maybe your product information, your location information, a lot of the information that you need to be able to quickly share with your trading partners. Typically, you're not able to store that in kind of a free TMS.com version. So the third version of TMS that we see is really what we would talk about as a standalone or an off-the-shelf TMS. And so a lot of times what companies who find themselves in this situation, what they're trying to do is there's really one piece or one component of transportation that they're trying to solve for. So a lot of times what we'll see is companies will go through a bid process, they'll select a software partner, and they'll end up they'll end up with a TMS that does one component of what we want our end goal. So let's say that this company, for example, has a lot of problems with, they have a lot of contracts with carriers. So they might put all of their contract information with carriers. A lot of companies spend a lot of time and spend a lot of money on labor just trying to find rates and trying to tender to carriers. So that's typically what we would see in this scenario. Is they might have some contracts loaded, they might have some light connections for tender with their carriers, but typically we don't really see any robust freight tracking capabilities in this model. So it really is kind of a standalone TMS where it's not broadly integrated. You don't really have great communication channels with your trading partners, but you do have a TMS. It's unique to your company, and it is something that does, part of what we will look for out of a full level 5 TMS. So the fourth version of TMS is what we call a fully integrated TMS. And so in this scenario, what you typically have is you have a TMS, you have broad integrations with your carriers, you have your contracts, you have the ability to tender, you can receive invoices in the TMS, but really it's a standalone TMS, almost like version 3. But it's really not, the big missing pieces there is it's not going to be connected to your ERP or to any of your warehouses. And so you're able to connect with your freight carriers, but not necessarily a lot of your internal facilities. So the best in class, and really when we talk about this and when we see this through our consulting work, we've had the opportunity to work with some Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 types of companies, really large organizations, multinational supply chains, complex organizations that have the ability to really invest in their supply chain and invest in their transportation programs. And when you look at our company and what we're trying to do, we're trying to take a lot of those best practices and create an affordable package that we can approach the middle and small market companies so that they can have a competitive offering to Fortune 50, Fortune 500 types of companies. Really hard to do. But what they're doing from a visibility and from an integration perspective is really pretty cool. So we kind of have our same base TMS, but what we're going to see there is we're going to be integrated not only with our freight carriers for things like contracts and for things like API and EDI tracking, but we are connected to warehouses, to manufacturing plants, and to our suppliers. And all of these connections allow us to seamlessly interact with our trading partners. And the last part about this is in this level 5 full visibility model is we have kind of robust data storage structures. So all of the activities that are going on throughout this process, whether it's orders, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's tracking and tracing and communicating with carriers, all of that is being stored in a database, and it's all being information is easily being passed along so that we have full visibility to not only what's going on in the plants, but what's on the truck, and all of that is being captured with computer systems and shared broadly across our organization. So that's really the goal. When you look at large, complex organizations, that's how they're running their business, and that's what we're trying to recreate and package up and bring to the market for our customers.